Hi, fourth graders. Today we're talking about lesson 102, tenths and hundredths on a number line. Starts on page 649 in your math books. We've talked about number lines before, and we've talked about tenths and hundredths. We're just kind of combining those ideas. Okay, so remember from previous lessons that we can use decimal numbers to name lengths that include a fraction of a centimeter. So here we have 23 millimeters, which is the same as 2 3/10 centimeters. Okay, so just decimal point to include that part until the next centimeter. Okay. Likewise, on a number line, the distance between every two numbers is divided into 10 equal parts. The arrow is pointing to the number 3 1/10, which we can write as a mixed number, so a fraction, or as a decimal. They both read 3 1/10. If the distance between the whole numbers is divided into 100 parts, then the points between the whole numbers may need to be written with 2 decimal places, because remember, 1 decimal place is the tenths place, and 2 decimal places is the hundredths place. The arrow is pointing to 3 25 hundredths, which can be written as 3 25 hundredths as a decimal or as a fraction mixed number. So, okay, so here this point is showing it's at 25 hundredths. So there's 100 lines between the 3 and the 4. Okay, example 1. Santiago is 162 centimeters tall. What is Santiago's height in meters? Okay, so if he's 162 centimeters tall, we know that 100 centimeters equals a meter. If I had a meter stick, there would be 100 centimeters on that meter. Okay, so he would be one of those meters, so 100 centimeters, plus another 62 centimeters. Okay, so 62 is in the hundredths of a meter. We're not get to a full meter. We just got 62 hundredths of it. So then Santiago is 1 62 meters, hundredths meters tall. Okay. So he didn't quite make it to 2 meters. He's between 1 meter and 2 meters, 62 hundredths. Okay, example 2. Write the decimal number to which each arrow points. Okay, so I am between, on example 2, I am between the 9 and the 10. So I'm 9 and how much more? Okay, this one is showing 10 spaces in between the 9 and the 10, so I'm going to be in tenths. So 9 and 1/10, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tenths. Okay, there are 10 spaces in between the 9 and the 10, so I'm working with tenths. This is the 6th one, so 9 6 tenths. Okay, and then this one, okay, I'm between 7 and 8. Okay, so this would be, there are 10 spaces between this group. So all together, I have one group of tens, 2 tens, 3 tens, 4 tens, 5 tens, 6 tens, 7 tens, 8 tens, 9 tens. I have 100 lines here. Okay, so this one's hundredths. So I'm at 7.5 right here. So 5 tenths, 50 hundredths, 51, 52. Okay, so 52, 7 52 hundredths, since I'm counting by hundredths on this line. Okay, we're going to keep going. Example 3, round 9 6/10 to the nearest whole number. Okay, well, you can think, if I had a number line here, 9 6/10 would be between 9 and 10. Okay, since it's at 6.6, 6/10, is 6/10 closer to 9 or closer to 10? Okay, you can think if it's 5 or higher, we round up. So 9 6/10 means we are rounding up to 10. Round 7 52 hundredths to the nearest 10th, okay, so this would be the 10th place. So this 2 is going to determine if we round up or down. Okay, so I am between 7 and 5/10 or 7 and 6/10. Am I rounding down to 7 and 5/10 or up to 7 and 6/10? This 2 tells me I'm going to round down to 7 and 2/10 or 7 and 5/10. Okay, example 4. Estimate the sum of 4 and 87/100 and 3 and 11/100 to the nearest whole number. Okay, so I'm estimating. That means I'm going to round to the nearest whole number. So I have 4 and 87/100. Is that closer to 4 or closer to 5? Okay, that is closer to 5. 87/100 is pretty close to the next whole number. Pretty close to 100. 3 and 11/100. Well, 11 is not very close to 100, so it would round down. And my estimate for the sum would be 8. Okay, we're on to lesson practice on page 651, and you can pause and answer as we go. Mackenzie jumped over a bar that was 160 centimeters high. How many meters high was the bar? So remember, she jumped 167 meters. So if I have a meter stick, there's 100 centimeters on that meter stick. So she jumped 1 whole meter, and then how much more? Okay, so 1 whole meter, 1, and how much more centimeters? Okay, so 1 and 67/100 of a meter. So 67 more centimeters. All right, B, we're just finding this number on the number line. I'm between 5 and 6, so I'm counting by, let's count how many spaces, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 spaces, so I'm tenths, 5 and 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, 4/10, 5/10. So B would be 5 and 5/10, or you could write it as a fraction, mixed number, which would look like 5 and 5/10. Okay, go ahead and do the same thing for C. What number is that dot pointing to? Okay, again, I'm counting by tenths, so I'm between 6 and 7. So 6 and how many tenths? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 6 and 8/10, either as a decimal or a fraction. Okay, and D, I'm between 7 and 8. Still counting by sevens. 1, 2, 3, 4/10. Okay. For E, F, and G, I have a hundredths number line, so I'm going to be writing the number as hundredths. So E, you can see I'm between 4 and 5, counting by hundredths. So 1/100th, 2/100ths, 3/100ths, 4/100ths, 5/100ths. So I'm at 4 and 5/100ths, which I don't have anything in the tenths then. 5/100ths is written like this. 4 and 5/100ths. Okay, F. Now this would be 10, 20, 30, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44. So 4, because I'm not to 5 yet, and 44/100ths. Okay, and now G. So again, I'm at 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95. So 4 and 95 hundredths. Okay, locate 6 and 8 tenths on the number line and then round to the nearest whole number. Okay, so 6 and 8 tenths. All right, so I'm going to take my dot. This would be 1 tenth, 2 tenths, 3 tenths, 4 tenths, 5 tenths, 6 tenths, 7 tenths, 8 tenths. Now, is it closer to 6 or closer to 7 to round it to the whole number? Okay, it is closer to the 7, so I would round it to 7. Okay, round 4 and 44 hundredths to the nearest whole number. Okay, so is 44 closer to 4, or would I round it up to 5? Okay, I would round it to 4. And then J, locate, it should just be, this shouldn't be here, 4 and 4 tenths on the number line and round to the nearest whole number. So 4 and 4 tenths. So this would be 1 tenth, 2 tenths, 3 tenths, 4 tenths. And is that closer to 4 or closer to 5? It is closer to the 4. Estimate the sum of 6 and 8 tenths and 5 and 9 tenths. So we're going to estimate, so that means I'm going to round. 6 and 8 tenths rounds to the nearest whole number of 7. And 5 and 9 tenths rounds to the nearest whole number of 6. If I add them together, I get 13. Okay, go ahead and do the reteaching for lesson 102, and then check your work when you're finished.